Good afternoon and welcome to Rapid City Legal and Finance Committee meeting for the first one of the new year on Wednesday, January 10th, 2018. I'd like to start this meeting with a roll call and determination of quorum. Please, Stacy.
Here.
Thank you. Now's the time to adopt the agenda. If there's any modifications, additions, or deletions from the seated committee members, I'd like to hear from you now. If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt today's agenda.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Rentier to adopt today's agenda, second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda has been adopted as presented for today. Now's the time for general public comment. This is the time for any audience member to address the committee today on items that are currently not on today's agenda. I have no speaker request forms. Am I missing anyone in the audience? Seeing no one, we're going to move on to today's agenda. Consent items are items 1 through 13 today. I'll open up public comment on consent items 1 through 13 on today's agenda. I currently have no speaker request forms. Am I missing anyone in the audience that would like to talk on items 1 through 13? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. We are now considering consent items 1 through 13. The chair would like to recognize Alderman Solomon for removal of items off the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I please pull item number 2?
All right. Are there any other items from committee members that would like to be considered separately? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve consent items 1 through 13, except item number 2.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion by Drury to approve items 1 through 13, except item number 2, second by Rentier. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 is to approve the resolution 2018-001, a resolution to support additional mental health services in western South Dakota. Chair would like to recognize Alderman Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I would like to make a motion to approve, and if I could get a second and retain the floor.
Got a motion to approve item number 2 by Solomon, second by Drury. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, there's an old country song by George Strait that says there's a difference between living and living well. And one thing I know about all of us is we are whole people with whole health of mind, body, heart, and soul. And mental health, all of us have mental health. None of us in here have mental health. We all have seasons where it's stronger and seasons where it's weaker. And I'm in favor of this resolution here because I think it's important to get the state's attention regarding West River needs for mental health care. It is critical. The fact that we are actually treating many of our mental health folks who are suffering with mental health similarly to the way we treat our prisoners when we ship them to Yankton for 350 miles on a long bus trip and back is not a great form of service to those folks. Treating folks with mental health care like criminals is actually a terrible way to do business. I mean, we can spend money on prisons, but we can invest money in mental health care. And one thing I love about Rapid City is we're doing everything we can to help. Last year, we invested vision funds into a mental health care pod through Community Health. We have recently our police officers got a quality of life grant in order to help folks who are most vulnerable. We've also invested in the Restoration Center with the county in order to provide crisis care for those who are in need. But one thing is for sure, in our culture, mental health care is lacking. And in terms of West River, it is a 5-hour drive to get folks even to Yankton. We might as well make an agreement with Colorado and send them there. But we don't need to do that. I think we can take care of this issue here in South Dakota. And so what I encourage is for our state to help Rapid City and West River in general, because what happens West River really affects Rapid City, and help us provide mental health care for those who need it. Because if we think it's expensive to serve mental health folks, then it's really expensive to incarcerate them. And that's kind of the distinction I think we ought to make. So I support this resolution. I hope that it gets proper attention. It is a big deal. And I'm pleased that this group is looking like it's going to pass, and hopefully we get the attention of the state, and we're willing to work together, but it's in everybody's best interest. Mental health care affects us all, one way or the other, and I look forward to a humane and effective way of treating mental health West River. And with that, I'll yield the floor.
Thank you, Alderman Solomon. Chair recognizes Alderman Laurenti.
Thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to not necessarily echo what the Council President's very good comments on this, but wanted to add to it by saying that I think the most important part about this resolution, which I wholeheartedly support as well, is that we need it here. We need some new facilities here because of the fact that their support system, the most important part, if they have a support system that is, makes it very difficult for that support system to participate with that person who's needing that help. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that we need to push our legislators, our state and our federal legislators, to get a facility, to get facilities, support facilities on the western side of South Dakota. We need it. The state has grown, or the city has grown significantly in the last 10, 15, 20 years, and it will continue to grow. So it's important that we get ahead of this. So we really need to lobby our state and federal representatives to make this happen. I yield.
Thank you. And it looks like Alderman Solomon has just a couple final comments?
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Laurenti. I agree with that wholeheartedly. You know, one thing I think it's important for us to note, we're leaders in this community. I would just say, if you are someone who struggles with mental health, you're not alone. And one thing we need to eliminate is the stigma of getting help if you need help. All of us suffer at times. I'm sure some of us have suffered up here at times, and we have seasons that we're better and seasons when we're not. We have loved ones who are going through that. We have community members, and we think this is just a homeless or it just is schizophrenia, or it's just some really extreme version of mental health care. It runs an entire spectrum, and that includes people that you know in your life, people that you know and love, and they're in a season. And so what I would love, and if I had one wish for our entire culture, is to get rid of this stupid stigma regarding mental health care. We all are whole people. We all have mental health. If you need help, get it. There are services. There are good people who are ready to help you through things, because I want you to live well. We want you to live well. We want Rapid City and the Black Hills and West River region, and the state for that matter, to live well. All of you, not just your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, all of that. We want you to be healthy. We want you to feel like you have purpose and you matter in this life, so that you can help make this community and this state the best place possible. And we are only as good as the people that we have, and we have great people, and it's time that we take a stand and we serve those who need this help. And I know my time is up. Thank you, folks, for letting me share a little bit about this. And as you can tell, I'm very passionate. But it's time. It's time to get something done. And we look forward to working with the state in any way that we can. And I'm yielded. Thank you.
Are you sure? Thank you. I do have a motion on the floor to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're now on to the non-consent calendar. Non-consent today is items 14 and 15. Now's the time to open up public comment on non-consent items 14 and 15. I currently have no speaker request forms. Am I missing anyone in the audience? Items 14 and 15. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. We are now considering non-consent items. Item 14 is the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6221 regarding supplemental appropriation number 1 for the year 2018. I've got a motion by Laurenti to approve. Second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15 is the second reading and recommendation of ordinance number 6216, An ordinance amending Section 5.52.130 of the Rapid City Municipal Code relating to merchant security vehicle identification. And this was continued from the December 27th, 2017 Legal and Finance Committee meeting. The chair would like to recognize Alderman Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I make a motion to approve. If I can get a second.
Second.
Got a motion by Solomon to approve item number 15, second by Drury. The
And
floor is yours.
If I can direct a question to our assistant, please, Chief.
You can.
Chief, can you tell us a little bit, since this was continued, I think there were maybe a couple of tweaks that were made. Can you give us a heads up on what those were?
You bet. One of the concerns brought forth was the language regarding merchant security, and we had initially thought in taking the word merchant off, but some concerns were brought forth on how that should remain, so we've agreed with that and are deciding to, bring this forward with that change, leaving merchant security as the wording. And secondly, another concern that was brought forth was a time frame for compliance to get the words security on vehicles. And we've worked with some of our security companies since the last meeting, and we believe we have a good plan in place for us to give folks the time they need to get this language on their vehicle.
All right, thanks for all your work on this.
Thank you.
I yield.
Chair would like to recognize Alderman Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. Basically, what had some challenges this last week with the issues that came forward with a private meeting was held with the vendor that we were concerned about, and working through those difficult issues. I got placed in the newspaper about an article that I was giving them favorable attention, and that was not at all what my intent was. And my intent was to give them an opportunity to have the word security installed or placed on their vehicles, to give them an opportunity to have that time to between now and the 1st of May to get that words placed on their vehicles. The allegation was that it was going to be very expensive to do that. To do a little more research on that, it came up that it is not that expensive. Yes, there is a cost, but it is not that expensive. And so I was somewhat to a whole lot dismayed about the comments that were made about the particular attention that was paid to this vendor and giving them the special treatment. That was not my intent. That was not what we were trying to do. We were just making sure that we were not displaying confidential and information or information that should not be shared from the dais. And so I was really dismayed at the comments that were suggested in later conversations. So I'm very supportive of this. In fact, if I had my choice, there'd be some other changes made to this as well. But since we're primarily focused on the two issues that are changes within this amendment, I can fully support that. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll yield.
You're welcome. I currently have no one in the queue. I do have a motion on the floor to approve second reading, making a recommendation to, and I'd just like to remind everybody, I believe City Council meeting will be Tuesday night, not Monday, so if you want to join us Tuesday night of next week for the City Council meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Got a motion by Nordstrom to adjourn, second by Laurenti. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.